Before Neo was to meet the Oracle for the first time, he sat in her living room where there were children displaying supernatural powers. These children are known as potentials and are under the protection of the Oracle. The abilities of some of these children surpasses that of any red pill. But why is the intuitive program taking care of these gifted children? What are their purpose? Could it be that the Oracle is grooming the next one? Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Once Neo awakens to the real world and begins his training as a red pill, he begins to develop supernatural abilities in the simulation. Neo knows that the Matrix is not real. However, his mind continues to cling to the simulation. But everything changes when Neo meets the Spoon Boy, a child with powers of manipulating or shaping the code of the Matrix. The Spoon Boy is one of the children that lived in the Oracle's house. When Neo enters the apartment, next to him there's a display of spoons hanging on the wall, which could suggest that they will be used in the future. Perhaps the one, or the anomaly, must always have to visit the Oracle, and this is what this collection of spoons wants to tell us. This encounter will be repeated in the future. Another scene that confirms this is when Neo goes to talk to the Spoon Boy. Notice how there are 6 spoons, 5 bent and 1 not bent, on the floor in front of the boy, a clear representation of the 6 anomalies, Neo being the 6th who has yet to fulfill his purpose. The Spoon Boy may have met Neo's 5 predecessors and given them the exact speech about how there is no spoon. This is interesting because it could be that the boy is a program created to help the anomaly. Other potentials in the living room are a woman carrying a newborn baby, a little girl on a laptop, another playing chess, and others simply practicing their telekinetic skills. This is also interesting because for the Oracle, these potentials are not only humans who can become red pills, but they could be something more. Let me explain. As it was believed, these potentials were children who managed to perceive the facade that is the Matrix, but have not yet awakened to reality. They are still blue pills. In the video game Path of Neo, there are several missions where these potentials needed to be protected.
Between the coming of the One and the end of the war,
Is it over?
Neo's presence within the Matrix sparked a new exodus of potentials.
Freeze it.
But because they were unable to stop Neo, the machines turned their attention to those within their grasp. Sentinels set a trap for one of our ships, and from the ship's mainframe, they extracted a list of potentials. The agents leveled their wrath on the helpless, and Neo was the only one who could stand against them.
Curious, isn't it, that there exists a list of potentials? This is how Morpheus and the Resistance recruit new red pills, though it is not known how this list is made or who makes it. The potentials are described as people on the verge of awakening, who have manifested powers inside the Matrix, and Neo may have been a potential before choosing the red pill. Yet this description does not match 2 individuals in the movies. The first is the newborn baby. If potentials are children or adults who have begun to perceive the falsehood of reality, how can a baby be among them? But perhaps the most important potential in the entire Matrix saga isn't even human. Of course, I am talking about the little exiled program that can control the sunrise, Sati. This means that potentials don't necessarily have to be human. There are also programmed potentials. Understanding this, we've come to realize that they are not potentials because they have awakened, but rather they are potentials for the use of the Oracle. There is a Matrix comic book where it is seen that the Spoon Boy moves freely through the Matrix. He helps a sculptor to realize the truth behind her works of art. He reveals to her that the world she knew was not real, which shows that the Spoon Boy knows of the existence of the real world and its horrors. We don't know if the Spoon Boy is human or a program, because he was able to send Neo a spoon in the real world, as if he was a citizen of Zion. As mentioned earlier, the The symbology of the 6 spoons could mean that the Spoon Boy has already been there to help guide the One. Now then, what if one of these potentials is the future anomaly? The Oracle's assistant mentions to Neo upon arrival that these are the other potentials.
These are the other potentials. You can wait here.
Interesting. As if she was implying that Neo was also a potential. Otherwise, she would have said that these are the potentials. Neo then sits on the floor with the rest of the children, like if he was part of the group. Do not forget that the Oracle is constantly seeking to unbalance the Matrix, to perpetuate the manifestation of the next anomaly. The Oracle is responsible for the integration of choice in the Matrix and the creation of the prophecy of the One. It isn't wrong to think that she could be responsible for the grooming of the next anomaly. If this theory is true, then the Oracle is preparing one of these potentials to become the next prophesized One, but not before erasing their memories so they don't remember ever living with her or that they were potentials. Although this theory is interesting, it's most likely incorrect, since we've previously discussed Neo's childhood in a past video. In the architect's room of small TV screens, we can see footage of Neo's youth as a lonely child, but as far as we can tell, the Oracle or potentials are nowhere to be seen in any of the footage. Neo appeared to be an ordinary child, though he was lonely and possibly bullied. But even if the One is not prepared since birth by the Oracle, it does not mean that the potentials aren't guided to fulfill the purpose of the intuitive program. When Neo meets Seraph, he asked him what was his purpose, to which the program answered,
I protect that which matters most.
Yet in Matrix Revolutions, Seraph is tasked to protect Sati. This is the second time that Sati is depicted as being more important than the Oracle. The first being when the Oracle sacrificed her shell so that Sati could be smuggled into the Matrix. Seraph only protects what matters most, and for the Oracle, Sati is what matters most. Ending on a random thought, maybe the potentials are individuals that the Oracle prepares to be replacements of other humans or programs. So perhaps Sati is meant to be the Oracle's replacement. But do you agree? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.